My name's Michelle, and this is my awesome 6 people audience that's going to listen to my informative speech today. So, can I get a raise of hands of who heard about foot binding? Awesome. You guys are an awesome audience. Well, today in modern day society, women tend to worry more about how our facials look like, our bodies, and we're more aware of what we wear. Well, at least that's the case here in America. But did you know that back in the